today we are going to talk. Our topic that I decided to talk about is how we can respond, not react, when we are dealing with high emotions. And high emotions usually comes when you are dealing with conflicts, or you're dealing with another individual that you are unable to, let's just say, not compatible to communicate well. Okay, so I would like to discuss about how could we prevent conflicts, prevent having the outbursts that is very easy to come. It's easy to get angry, and it takes a long time to bring the emotion down, correct? So that's basically what's the bottom line here. And to be able to consciously not to react and respond, it can be very challenging for individuals. And that's why I'm going to give an example. For instance, example is, let's say you are communicating. Let's just say something that happened recently. I was communicating with a person. Obviously, I practice law, so I communicate with a lot of people all the time. And I do divorce and immigration, as you know. So I do have to deal with conflicts, people's conflicts. So I hear a lot of, perception of one person's perception versus the other person's perception. So in a meeting, I was discussing, one party expressed that it's going to be difficult to parent when you have to go find a job or get a job. Mm-hmm. That person felt that they may be better to just be a caregiver, and being a caregiver provides the ability to care for children, and then maybe it's not a good idea to even work, and a parent who is working may not be able to parent because they're working. So that was a perception, but then the other parent felt that maybe that's not the case. They can be doing the same thing and having parenting. As long as they're responsible and they're able to care for a child, there's no problem normally. So the issue that I was raising was in this scenario was, well, working doesn't negate parenting. Everybody works these days, and we all have to work because our society has changed. In the past, it used to be that one person would work and would provide for everybody. And I have to also, from time to time, check to make sure, I'm sorry, there is nobody from our meetings outside because of the... basically, I had to explain that time has changed, and now both parties can work, and there's nothing impeding or preventing one party from being able to parent because of their job. They get daycare, they get babysitter, they get childcare, and that's done. It's just the way it works. If they're young, they go to preschool, and after preschool is daycare, and if they're older, they go from a school, they come home, and they just basically either have somebody who will look after them, another individual, until they're old enough or responsible enough, or engage them with different activities so they're not home. That's basically how it's done. So I assume everything was finished, but later on I got a call that individual felt that they understood it because they're in conflict, that maybe I am not being heard because the other person doesn't let me hear, be heard. And I would like to express that, why do I have to go get a job? And that was not the purpose of the discussion. But the perception was, because when you're dealing with emotion, high emotion, especially in going through divorce, everything that a party says may come as an attack at times, and a person becomes defensive. At times, it may be attack because maybe that's where they are. You know what I'm saying? Not everybody is in a good, high, old, place, smiling and happy. There are people who are not happy, and we understand that that's just normal, right? So normal because that's what we see. I mean, hopefully it won't be normal in the near future, but it is normal now. So basically, instead of expressing what the misguidance or misperception, it became a huge problem because has gone thought about it for a while and brooded over it, and then it became an emotional outburst. Oh, am I being asked to go get a job? I don't want to do that. So and that was that was the subject. So this is just a minor. It could be much more extensive. It could be, let's say, parties talking about, again, I'm going to use the subject of custody because that's easier for me to do. Let's say custody parties are communicating about child visitations, and one party says, well, please, make sure that the clothing and all the child's items are there when I pick up the child, so I don't have to wait for an hour for everything to be ready. The other party, instead of maybe perhaps realizing that, the delay and keeping the other party waiting is not nice, maybe think, oh, you're attacking me, and turn it around and try to say, well, I'm always on time, you're late. So then the topic changes. It becomes who is late, who is not late, and before you know, the two parties are having quite a huge argument. I don't know, any scenario that you want to say things that could happen, and how things that you think that is happening and how we can rectify it, because I want to give examples and then talk about how to deal with it. So in the first scenario, I suggested to the other party to speak out when something like that comes. And if you are not understanding what is being said, ask. Say, I'm not clear. Are we talking about me getting a job, or are we talking about parenting? And then let it be clarified, because if you're not clarified, then you're going to go with this misconception, and then you're going to deal with that thought process for a while and then become unhappy or concerned. With the second party, when a party starts responding in a negative, saying that, well, why, you're always late, instead of responding back and trying to get into that subject, step away. That would have been the subject that I would tell them, step away. You were talking about being ready so I can pick up. If the other party says you're late, what is happening here? There are two parties getting engaged into an argument, correct? So getting engaged in an argument that is not pleasant is not going to get resolved in any resolution between the two of them, because one of them, the other person, is going to respond to that, correct? So the step away would be, okay, the other person is reacting, is being defensive. So what I said made that party defensive. If you have to deal with that person on a regular basis, then it is better to learn how to communicate so the other person is not triggered. Mm-hmm. Because if it's triggered, then you're going to have this road every day taking it, correct? So the best way is to learn how to communicate with the other party. It's not about the other party is stupid not getting it, okay? The issue is, I'm doing it for me, because if I learn to communicate better, then I don't have to deal with that individual. It's not the issue of the other individual is just doing this to me, or why am I have to deal with this? Well, you're dealing with it because until you learn how to deal with this person. Because once you do learn how to deal with this person, then you no longer have to deal with them. It's as simple as that. Why do I say you don't have to deal with them? Because whatever they say no longer triggers you. So I'll give you another example. I'm gonna give you something maybe personal. It would be easier. Let's say I have a conversation with my mom, and my mom has a way of triggering me, or used to, not anymore, but in the past, used to trigger me. It could have been simple things, how are you? Oh, good. You gained so much weight, or oh, I see your kid is getting fat, or something that is not nice, and you're listening to that, or okay, well, would you like food? No, I don't want to eat. What is the point of eating? I'm feeling miserable. You guys are all doing your thing. I'm alone. I'm just giving an example, an exaggeration example of what could possibly go wrong, okay? So this goes on and on and on, and you are in this dynamic of feeling victimized, feeling this negative projection coming at you at all times, and feeling desperate to leave, desperate to not be in that position in the same situation. But once I was able to see that the other individual, who, in this case, we said it was, let's say, my mother, and the other individual, it's someone close, and he or she doesn't really, she's just being herself, and it is not anything to do with how I am thinking she's trying to make me feel. It has to do with how she communicates. If she did know how to communicate better, she may have done so. But she really is not incapable, because that's a degree of a communication that is coming. So there are two options: either to boycott that person and not have anything to do with them, or to learn to communicate with that person in a way that it doesn't negatively affect me. It doesn't make me feel bad. It doesn't make me victimized. It doesn't make me feel like I want to go and hit my head to the wall, okay? So the way to do it, and this is what I learned from practicing, is to see for what she is. She doesn't know any better. She is who she is. I love this person. I care for this person. And I'm doing it for me. And if she's saying something, instead of reacting, I got to understand where it's coming from. I got to understand, maybe she really, where her background is, where she's coming from. If I have that depth knowledge, which I usually do with their close relatives, then I can see where is this person coming from, what this person's experience has been, right? So seeing that, I'm no longer having this bar, this expectation of this person meeting my bar, expectation to be there at this level. Because I see this individual, this loving person, doing the best she can in her own way. She may think she's helping by telling me that you're getting fat, because she's hoping that I understand and feel bad and not eat anymore. Or the child. It's the way of thinking. But am I going to let that person's thinking bother me, or am I going to learn how to communicate with that person without bothering me? And that's what I'm learning. I'm teaching that. Yes.
Okay. I hear what you're saying. In my marriage, there were times when I had access to that higher level of thinking, and other times when it just wasn't there. Stress response. Where is your brain for fighting a bear in a cave? Now let's say your spouse is coming down on you really hard, getting very critical, as an example. There were times when I was triggered, where my brain would go into fight or flight response, which is inappropriate for that situation. My IQ would drop about 30 points. I would not be able to think straight really at all. And when that happens, we call amygdala hijacking, I think, in the neurology of it, all of my higher intelligence was just switched off. Part of my brain, for example, that would carefully decide whether I'm going to invest my discretionary income in small caps, mid caps, pork bellies, or Bitcoin, it's offline. And it's being there. Now I know it's possible to do this because I did it last fall. I've had only real trauma that I had when I was a kid was just around water and near drowning about 3 times before I turned 7 years old. And my mother eventually bribed me to learn how to swim. So being in the water was I reinterpreted being in the water to being a symbol of triumph as opposed to a symbol of imminent death. And I didn't really know this until I went whitewater rafting last fall and went overboard in class 4 whitewater. And I'm being spun like a top and twirled like a baton in the water. And I spent enough time in the water so I knew when my head was out and when it wasn't. Unfortunately, I had a life jacket on. I was able to breathe enough, and I kept my cool throughout the entire thing. Okay. Now, there's other situations where in my marriage, there were times when my wife would say something triggering, and I would know up here at the level of the neocortex that no emotion will kill me, no memory will kill me.
Sorry, I'm here.
And catch. She's playing, she's having fun.
She is, but she's causing problem too. She's chewing everything.
What's she up to?
Go ahead.
Anyway, so, but I had no access to it. It was just like that part of my brain was shut offline and disabled, and I'm seeing her in the same way as I might have seen in the Paleolithic era as a bear in my cave. Now the only thing was threatened was my ego. There was no actual danger. There was
that's
much
what
more
it is.
danger when I was in that whitewater, quite frankly.
But there's no ego, though.
There's no ego
There's no
in it.
ego.
No, but that's the point is that the limbic system can't tell the difference between a threat to my ego and a threat to my survival. It says threat. Okay? So the threat of a divorce is along the same category as far as the limbic system is concerned
Right.
to an assault with a knife.
But that's an emotional threat rather than like a physical threat, I think, right?
Well,
So that's
but
where
that's the
ego would come
problem
in.
is, the limbic system, the brain that switches you, that takes over, the part of your brain that takes over in fight or flight response, can't tell a difference between the two. This was taught to me by a meditation teacher years
Right.
ago. And once that switch is flipped, it's very, very hard because the stop switch is disabled out of that defensive process. And I still haven't, it's regaining the presence of mind to turn on the stop switch, as it were.
Mm-hmm.
And really, now there were times in my marriage when I actually did that. I mean, I was impervious to anything my wife would say to me. Other times, boom. And I was off to the races.
Well, that's normal what you're saying.
I'm not saying it's not
It
normal,
happens-
it's a human
yes.
condition of,
Yes,
my
yes.
mantra is, in recovery, I work in addiction treatment, is so what, now what? I'd like to be able to get to so what, now what? And there are times when I get to it, I can think clearly. There are times when I can't get to it. I don't think clearly.
So I guess now we're going to talk about how you can always get clearly, and that's what I'm trying to.
Oh, good. If you got some tips on that, that'd be great.
Yes, I do, and that's what I'm going to talk about. I'm hoping this meeting, if this is one of the sessions, we are going to be talking about how to do that. Number one is when you are hearing something that is hurting your ego, because ego is identity, is what we recognize to be. And so it's really hard to separate from ego, because ego is our survival skills as well as what we consider everything about ourselves to be.
In the world, yeah.
In this world, in this
Yeah.
physical world. So saying that once we are being told unkind words, and profanity or things like I'm giving an example, like you're stupid or you're incompetent or you're this or you're that, those can be trigger at times, and since a lot of them has to do with also our childhood, because what we have experienced during our childhood through our either parents or friends or society or community or whatever background that we had, those terms brings about or resonate to us as ringing truth, because we can recognize the same thing being told or said to us many times before. So that's why it hurts even more, because you're having this relationship with somebody completely different, and now you're hearing those terms again, terms that nobody knew or you didn't think this person, and now this person is saying that to you. The reality is, from my point, reality that I see, is it is what you make it, really. So either you accept what is projected to you, consider that as your own it, meaning this is what it says, this must be true. I must be stupid, okay? Because I married you, I must be stupid, okay? So either we see it at that term, or we really go and say, why is this triggering me? Which is what I do. Why is this triggering me? And then I think about it. What is in it that is
that far? Okay.
But you can.
If I get that far, I can regain my balance if I
Yes.
can get that far. But the whole thing is getting that far to where the rational brain asks that question.
But that's the idea. The moment you start getting the knee jerk reaction to just respond, that's when you have to tell yourself no.
I do it real fast.
It comes very fast because it's a reaction.
Well, that comes fast. The problem is that the rational brain is slow and deliberate. The limbic system is very fast.
Try to do deep breathing. When at the beginning, when you're doing this, deep breathing would help. Once you are learning it, you don't need a deep breathing because you're already there. So it may take a little while, and you may even lose a little bit, but you immediately regain yourself. It's actually beautiful because once you go through this process from being where you are to where you're going, and you get to a point where you actually could lose your temper and say, I did not say that, and then you laugh at yourself. What the heck was that for? And then you're done. That was it. And then it doesn't matter how much comes. You just see the humor in it because it no longer affects you.
I hear you.
So what happens is that the trigger point is no longer your trigger point. By figuring out why what you heard bothers you, okay, somebody says you're stupid, I'm saying, well, okay, because everybody says, my mom said I was stupid, when I was a kid, I thought I was stupid, I was stupid, yeah, I gotta be stupid, I'm mad, Then, and it's all about, and then I go through just as an example, I go through this victimization that I must be stupid, look at my life, and then go on and on and on. There is no longer a conscious thought. I'm not going through complete cycle of what is wrong with me. There is no longer being good enough, being complete enough, being sane enough. So anything I do is okay because at that stage, I don't see myself to be good enough to do anything good. Okay? Mm-hmm. So it is a really interesting situation because the emotion is coming, you feel it in your body, comes through you, you feel the heat, and then you're out there. You are responding. And respond is quick, but it never resolves right away. It comes back. And then it goes on and on and on. And after you're completely spent, you really don't know what the heck you were doing, why you were doing it, because the other person doesn't kind of understand, or where you are with that person, that dynamic is not going to go away. So the only thing that keeps you away from it is you're recognizing that I am getting angry and I shouldn't be angry. Why am I getting angry? So start asking yourself, why am I getting angry? Because you said I'm stupid. Oh, okay. But do I really care what this person says? Do I believe this person saying, whatever it says is truth? No. Then why the heck are you angry? Okay. Maybe it's deeper. Maybe. Yes. Okay, maybe when you say that you are helping someone, you're trying to, scratch that. When you are thinking about how you're communicating with that person, that this person is unable to see you from the same level you want to communicate with that person, then you can't go down to their level and start communicating in the same way they are communicating with you. So if the other person tells you you're stupid, and you go back on and say, no, you're stupid. No, you are stupid. No, you are more stupid. Then you're not accomplishing anything. Yeah. So deep breathing can help. Also, if you meditate regularly, and I really say that, if you regularly meditate every single day, I promise you the way you react completely changes. You will have quite a time delay. And it's very interesting because with meditation, your body, you have a time delay. So when the person says something to you, it's not there is no right away reaction. You actually have a moment in between. And that moment is what you capture and keep it. Because that's the moment you're going to tell yourself, okay, what is happening to me? Yeah. What is happening to me? you're gonna have to ask yourself why this triggers me. Because once you discover what triggers you, it no longer can trigger you. So let me get you this. Let's say as a child, I'm being told I'm stupid constantly. So when, let's say in our scenario example, my mom says you're stupid, I accept that because I've been stupid all my life, right? So it comes okay. And I have accepted that in the back of my mind. I'm saying, no, I'm not. But somewhere deep down there, I think I'm stupid. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Once you recognize this comes from all that, remember the memory of all the stupidity. And yes, you have done things that were stupid, and now you remember them in color. Remember the things you did. You took this thing that day and everybody found out, and you make fun of you, and that was bad, shameful. Shame, blame, guilt, all that, all rush in. Once you recognize all of that, then you say, but I am happy with what I am. I'm okay. I may not be Einstein, but I think I'm smart enough. And I'm happy with what I am. If they think I'm stupid, that's fine. It's their problem, it's their perception. I no longer think that I am the person they think I am. I'm going to look at myself the way I see myself. Me, I am this competent person that I see. I'm this kind person that I see. This loving person that I see myself to be. With whatever deficiency that other may think that I have, fine. I'm okay with it. That's their perception. I don't have to accept that. I don't have to adapt that as mine. I don't have to own it. Once you do that, you release this pent up emotion that you have from feeling inferior, from feeling being walked down, talked down, from feeling that you have not been heard, from feeling that you have been victimized all the time. Because you no longer accept yourself to be victimized by anyone. Once you put the victimization mentality aside, they don't have any role in who you are. You are who you are.
Yeah.
You're happy with it. You're not happy with it? I'm sorry for you. I'm not even going to say I'm sorry, because there is no reason to be sorry. That's their perception.
There was a guy on YouTube, of course, talking about the media and mind control.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things he was saying was, you can tell when they're engaging in mind control because they're making you angry. And so now when I listen to the news and I start seeing myself getting angry, I've got to stop. Okay, I know now I'm being a victim of mind control, and knowing that I'm a victim of mind control immediately dissuades the anger, and I can actually listen to them objectively, and maybe they might have a point, and maybe they're just trying to deceive me. Whatever it is, though, it puts me in a point where just being known that I'm being manipulated takes the truth out of a lot of people's manipulative statements.
Sorry, two people, maybe. Okay. One person got car trouble, and just want to make sure I'm not. People, I told them if they're late to let me know. I want to make sure I'm not ignoring people. Just gonna respond to what he said. Before I go there, do you all watch TV a lot?
No.
Okay.
More like YouTube type of thing.
I do
like
YouTube now.
yeah,
I'm going alternative media almost 100%.
Like
now.
that's like my TV,
Yeah.
or like meditation.
That is really good.
Yeah.
What I was trying to say was that the way the media is right now broadcasting the information, it's so much based on creating fear, insecurity, lack, that when you're watching TV, you come out of it, you feel completely drained. Even if you had a good emotion, it's already gone, because you're always seeing all these people coming in and talking about the doomsday, either here, there, or somewhere else. And there is no news about something good. If it's something good that they're bringing out, they're actually bringing negativity with it too. So you're not really getting what you need to be getting. There is no balance. So people who are watching TV a lot, they are seeing so much catastrophe, drama, all this opinion coming by other people saying how doomsday or what's going to happen. You don't really have any. By the time you turn it off, this is all is going in your brain. Your brain is full of all this information, and you keep regurgitating it, keep thinking about it, going on and on and on and on. And then we wonder why.
It keeps happening.
Yeah, and we sleep with the thoughts, we wake up with the thoughts. So, and the dream world we have is all about that thoughts. So once you clear yourself from all these mind-boggling, useless dramas.
Or downright destructive, actually.
That's true.
Yeah, they are.
It can be, yes. So once you stop that, you can sleep well. And once you sleep well, you don't have any trauma or drama before you're going to bed. So you have a good night of sleep. So when you wake up in the morning, you don't feel like you just, you did neither sleep or you didn't sleep well, or you just feel so tired or drained, or you don't want to go and do anything. Because that comes from the night before. Because you started your night bad, not right. One way to do it, take 10 minutes meditation before you go to bed. Just close your eyes in bed and just say, I'm going to meditate. And if you can, put the music in your ear if you have to, something solo, sound. Just listen to chirping birds, something that you like, and let that be. In the morning when you wake up, if you have a pet, hug him in the morning before you get up. Hug him and kiss him. That emotional love exchange between the two, it is so refreshing. That's how you boost yourself. So you start your day better. These are little tricks, but they actually work beautifully. So be conscientious and separate yourself from victimization mentality by changing the way you think about yourself. That's what needs to be done.
Yeah.
When you think someone did something to you and you still keep thinking about it, well, you still have it in your system. It's not gone from your system. So you have unprocessed trauma again, unprocessed victimization that is ongoing. You don't want that. Separate yourself from it. You have a power to choose what to think and how to think. This is the only thing you really have full control over. Although you are going against your brain wanting to constantly, because that's our programming, constantly lead us into other thinking. So let's say something bothered you at work, you're walking, coming in, you're driving, and then you're bound to see other things gonna bother you because you never let go of what bothered you before. So then you're continuously having issues coming along the way. You come to a meeting, you're not happy about what's happening, or something is not fulfilling because you're still not letting go from others. So it keeps continuing all the way. Is it like a domino effect? The more, thank you, you're giving such a loving attention to Aspen. Is she listening?
No, it's just like chewing on my shoes.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
No,
Is she
it's
doing
okay. No, it's fine. No, she's sitting.
Aspen, no chewing. So basically, it all has to do with how you can control yourself. Because if you don't, then you gave your control to something else. It could be either your environment, your friends and family, media, whatever it is that is taking control over your thinking process. Don't forget that we all, as an individualized unit of consciousness, we are this individualized sentience. We have complete power and control over ourselves. So if a person triggers us, it's not them triggering us, it's us triggering ourselves. Mm-hmm. So if somebody says something nasty to me, I'm giving my power to that person by reacting to them. It's really, that's what it is. So it's thanks to them, they're so powerful that they can do that to me. That's what I say. So divorce, trauma from separation, from bad relationships, those, if we are getting drained into continuously having this emotional up and down with these individuals, That is because we don't really appreciate who we are and what we are, and we are letting the other individuals or individual telling us who we are and
yes.
what we are.
We buy into that BS. Yeah.
Not only we buy into it, we actually completely own it and behave exactly as they expect us to. So if somebody says you're belligerent, become belligerent. So that's what happens. You don't want to be that person, don't be that person, because you are not. Don't accept it. Don't accept somebody else's negative projection.
Sorry. I think it's how she likes to sleep or something.
I got a very cute dog who's really can be a huge distraction. So then the other thing that I think that most of the people who have most of the people that we could call them as being masters or teachers that we have read books about and read their work, they're trying to help us to have a deeper understanding and help us to break away from these limitations and the construct of our mental programming. And that's what they're trying to do, and by writing and giving us guidance. There are many people who are writing really good books and providing information, and I'm sure you have been reading because you're here, so you're obviously seeking and you're trying to improve, which is what we all do to the day we die. So just keep that in mind and try to consider that what is coming to you is, you don't have to own it. Take a deep breath if it helps you a few times. If it is still uncontrollable, maybe you may have to at the beginning have few outbursts until you get there, but you will get there. But you have to keep it up. Do more meditation. The more meditation you do, honestly, it reduces your rate of reaction.
I can thought of that. Yeah, meditation would be good for that.
It totally reduces the reaction. So somehow it mellows. And by being mellow, you are not able to react anymore. You just kind of, after a while of doing it a few months, you kind of wonder when the person is angry at you, what is making them so angry? Because you don't understand it anymore. It's the way you are, where you are, the peace that you create for yourself in your bubble, because it is your bubble.
And it's my universe, actually.
It's your bubble. You can do whatever you want with your bubble. So if you want your bubble to be chaos, you create a chaos. If your bubble needs to be your ex-wife saying nasty things, then that's your bubble. You don't want that, you disassociate yourself from it. But by disassociate doesn't mean that you don't have to talk to the person. Sometimes that's a good thing, but sometimes you have to talk to them. So what you do, you learn, because once you learn how to talk to them, once you learn how they're not going to affect you, once you learn how they're not going to trigger you, that was the whole purpose of the whole journey for you. By learning to do that, then nobody else can, because then the next person who comes around cannot possibly be as bad as the other person who was able to trigger you that easily. So you learn to control yourself. You learn to be in charge of yourself. You learn to be the sovereign being that you are. And that's what it's all about, is learning to go through your journey in a more conscious way. Reaction is not conscious way of acting. It's just a reaction.
One of the things that has helped me a lot, and I still haven't taken advantage of it fully, is that a few years ago, when I was headed towards my divorce, it was about 2 or 3 years before it actually happened, I faced my worst emotional pain. I had no choice, literally had no choice. I considered committing suicide, but the little voice says, how do you know that if you go through this, it's going to take away your pain? Odds are that it won't, because the pain was not in my body. And I had to face it. I mean, it was like I was held down and waterboarded with it, and I came out after about 5 minutes of wondering what I was going to do. It was gut-wrenching. It reminded me of recovering from abdominal surgery without the sharpness of the physical pain. And I thought I should have been dead, and I wanted to be dead. Well, wait a minute, I'm still here. And I know that, And so it helps a lot to know that no emotion and no memory is lethal in and of itself. The memories maybe of near lethal events, possibly, childhood trauma and whatnot.
They all are trapped emotions and can be
Yeah.
released. There is nothing really lethal unless you make it lethal to
Yeah.
you. So unless you own it to be lethal, unless you think of it as so. Otherwise, it's not. It's trapped emotion that can be released once you recognize what it is and where it's
Yeah.
coming from.
So the way out of
Yeah.
it is through it.
The way out of it is to understand it, to understand it where it's coming from. Once you understand it, you understand that where it came to lodge within you, you realize it was such a, like your child, when you were a kid, you were doing this, somebody told you you're stupid, and you're now realizing, and I carried that. And then I heard that when I had this school function, I did this, and then you realize you go through all these traumas that you had, and you lodge them in you, because at the time it was really hurtful. It was just hurtful emotion that wasn't processed, and this unprocessed emotion trauma stayed with you. Then you went through it step by step, the next and the next and the next one. It's asking. So that's basically what caused it. But you need to find out what is causing it. You need to visit that. It may not be pleasant, but it helps you to understand why you think that way about yourself. And then once you realize where it's coming from, then you no longer should be seeing yourself the same way, because unless you adapt that perception, if you don't adapt it, then you are complete. There's no difference between you and her or me. We all are complete human being coming here. The creator created a good one. Just what we want to do with it is basically on our own hands. So thank you, everyone. I don't know if anybody questions. Nothing. We're good.
Yeah, this is all something I know and need to be reminded of constantly.
Mm-hmm.
Constant reminded, because I can forget it just like that when my brain goes into that fight or flight response.
Your brain goes where you want it to go. So if you decide it's going to go to fight and flight, that's where it's going to go. If you don't want to, you can just talk to yourself, calming
When it
yourself
starts
down.
going there, I can catch myself in the act and pull myself out.
Talk
of it.
to yourself.
Yeah.
Say, hey, what's going on? Okay, let's
I'm
take a
doing
deep
that
breath.
with the news now too. When I get to the point where the news or something is making me angry, I get to the point now where I can do a reset of it. Say, wait a minute, this is mind control. What's really going on here and whatnot? And I'm being manipulated. Okay, so big deal. Somebody's trying to manipulate me.
And immediately change it.
And
Start putting in
Yeah,
music.
I'm no longer manipulated by it at that point. Just by knowing it's manipulation, I'm no longer manipulated by
True.
it. I'm no longer angry at it.
And maybe cut
on
the
the
amount of time you're watching news. So put
Yeah.
more music, because news is just repeating the same thing different ways.
Yeah.
So if you do a snip of 5 minutes, you got your whole day news if you need to. The rest of them you don't really need to listen. It's all other people's opinion, and the same anchor now become an expert. Now they're expressing their opinion. Another person comes who is paid by a different party and wants to express an opinion. The next person, they just bashing. This is all. It's just entertainment.
Yeah.
Don't get involved in it if it doesn't feed you, if it doesn't make you feel good. Go toward programs that it makes you feel